For a session presented by American Express Travel, please welcome President of American Express Travel, Audrey Hendley, in discussion with Skift President, Carolyn Kremins.
Welcome to Skift Global Forum. Audrey, we're making a habit out of this. This is our fourth year together.
Our fourth year started at the JFK airport. Who was there?
Right.
The TWA Hotel.
Who was at JFK airport? Awesome. David, of course, you always with us from the beginning. Audrey, so welcome back. One of the things that we love about this session is that we get to talk about changing travel habits. And American Express Travel, you're booking millions of trips for millions of people, so you have millions of data points.
All over the world.
All over the world. So you actually have such current data on what travelers want these days. So the theme of this conference, as you know, is Travel's Great Renewal. And this is, in the backdrop of so much change, climate change, economic change, political change, and whatnot. So I'm sure that filters down into what consumers want today. So let's start there. Tell us some of the top themes that you see happening in 24.
Indeed, it is an ever-evolving and ever-changing world in all kinds of ways. But I guess starting with the customer, there's so much we see. Customers are traveling for the big trips now. Think the Galapagos with add-ons, safaris with add-ons, and bigger, longer trips. There's a huge rise in solo travel. Millennials and Gen Zs, we talk to them very carefully and listen very carefully. And 78% of millennials and Gen Zs said that they're going to take a solo trip in the next year.
Wow.
It's fascinating to me. People are traveling a lot for sporting events. Our customers love tennis. Wimbledon was a hot place for our customers this year, and obviously the US Open. We have a lot of customers in that vein who come to us and say, I have a bucket list. I want to go to all 4 Grand Slams in 1 year. But it's not just about that. There are so many big sporting events domestically and, of course, internationally that are encouraging people to make that their vacation. And then, of course, it's all about spontaneity. We've come through so much as travelers. We want to be a little flexible, and we want to be a little open to what takes us, if you will.
Spontaneity. Okay, so there's no one more spontaneous than me. If anyone's ready to go somewhere in an hour from now, I'm coming. Okay, I could do that. Very few people can, but it seems like people are starting to trend that way. So let me ask you about that. Mm-hmm. So when you say spontaneity, are you saying in that kind of I'm ready to pick up and go anywhere at any time, and they're gone? Or are you saying spontaneity that when they're in destination, maybe they're not quite so planned out and they want to be more spontaneous once they get on the ground?
It's a little bit of both, Carolyn. Customers are very flexible about when they want to go on vacation. I guess I would say, where is it written that we all should go to Europe in July and August? And we love seeing people embracing destinations at other times of the year. And we see that as a huge trend. Patterns are smoothing out a lot. I will say I was in Italy in recent years in February. There was no queues. It wasn't hot. I could get to where I needed to be. And I could say I checked off a lot of famous places and things to do without the virtue of a line. But there are people who don't have that flexibility. So there's families who are tied to the school schedules. And for them, we hear a lot about trending destinations. We have a survey, we try to understand what's coming up. And rather than, let's say going to Tokyo, they're going to Niseko, they're going to Adelaide Hills, and they're looking for other places within a destination to just give a feeling of freshness and also to build in some of the spontaneity when they're on the trip.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned Japan. A couple of years ago, pre-COVID, Skift did a project with Japan tourism, and they were really suffering everyone wants to go to Japan, everyone is going to Japan, but they came to us very specifically that everyone was going to Tokyo and Kyoto, and they needed to disperse the visitors. So we helped them, find other destinations and that they could market, and now it seems like
that's right.
That's really working. It's really filtering
down. And we
down.
see that playing out in trends, all right.
Yeah. So we talk about a lot of what discussion on stage is about experiences and local experiences, and So how does American Express Travel like get granular? Like how do you get into knowing what the places on the ground are to go? Like I ask my taxi driver, like that's how I find out where to go or where to eat. But how do you do it?
Well, American Express is a global travel company. We've been in the travel business for over 100 years and covering the globe for over 100 years. And what's popular and where to go obviously changes a lot. But we try to bring local to a lot of things that we do. So for example, the lounges. We have over 1,400 lounges around the world. You're familiar with our Centurion lounges. We have 30 of those now. I know that you've been in some of them. Like one of the ones most recently that we opened up was in Washington, D.C., DCX. And in that lounge, we tried to bring Washington to our travelers. So all of the artwork, our iconic buildings around Washington. We even have drinks that are infused with cherry blossoms. We also continued to think about what made Washington, Washington. And we went out and found the old mile markers that marked out Washington, D.C. when it was decided that this would be a place that we would live. And we created replicas of those mile markers within the lounge. In Atlanta, we opened Atlanta earlier this year. It's our largest lounge. Atlanta is known as the city in the jungle. And we have this huge olive tree in the middle of the lounge that is just beautiful. So every destination has its own thing, every lounge has its own thing. And of course, we kind of bring that to everything we do, not just to the lounges.
Yeah, wow. I had so many things going through my head through the Washington lounge of like politics, but yeah. We'll stay away from that.
I'll also say though, and in those lounges, like so many other things happen. Yeah. So we're working with an organization that helps people with invisible disabilities. So those customers wear lanyards to self-identify. Our colleagues who work in the lounges are specially trained to work with those card members to make sure that they're comfortable. And then we continue to bring out all kinds of things, and that goes down through the thread of everything we do to just bring the experience to life for the traveler, regardless of who they are.
Right, okay, that's pretty cool that you do that. So younger travelers, that's a large segment of who you're planning travel for. Let's talk specifically about trends as it applies to the younger travelers. They have such a huge spending power, and so will definitely impact certain businesses. What are you seeing?
I guess I'd say they are impacting for us. Millennials and Gen Zs, fun fact, are the fastest growing segment for our US card business. So that means it's a lot of travelers, it's a lot of demand, and it's a lot of anticipating for people like me who run the travel business, because what do these customers want from a travel experience? I will say our Fine Hotels and Resorts program since 2019 has grown by 3x, and it was already a big program. So we have to add a lot more content, a lot more product. This year alone for the hotel collection, we added 300 hotels, literally switched on overnight. And while they're checkered all over the world, for that segment, they were mostly in urban areas, in downtown cities, close to attractions and culture, nightlife, restaurants. So we have to continue to innovate, bring more products to customers, and think through the value proposition of what we offer to customers, along the lines of all the things people love, like room upgrades and late checkouts and all the great things that come with traveling.
So when you say in urban, mostly in the cities, are you accommodating for like this whole work leisure balance? Is that something that you look for when you add on hotels?
It is certainly one of the factors, because we see a lot of people, as we do also, tagging on leisure trips to their business trips, or the reverse. And everybody wants to figure out how to maximize their time, and like families love the fact that their kids can run amok in the swimming pool while they log on upstairs and can check out at 4 p.m. and get the benefits of trying to think about how do we all have a good time here.
Right. Well, at least how does your family have a good time while you're working?
I know.
But whatever, that's a whole nother topic. All right, so I just want to go back to real quickly on the lounges. The Centurion Lounge, I think was probably one of the first lounges from a credit card issuer. Right?
Yeah, our first lounge was in Las Vegas 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So I get very excited when I see Centurion Lounge, right? Like, the food's going to be really good. It's going to be really comfortable, all those like great things. So you've done great on that. But it seems like everyone's getting into the game right now. There seems to be a lot more lounges, a lot more choices. How do you stay ahead? How do you keep that leadership position?
I think at the heart of it is the customer experience and knowing the customer. Every lounge has its own personality, as we talked about earlier. Some lounges are long dwell times, others are short. Las Vegas is a very short dwell time because people are coming and going much more frequently. The West Coast has a lot of customers going to Asia, so they have longer dwell times. But it's really thinking through the experiences in the lounge. So earlier I talked about Wimbledon. We're a sponsor at Wimbledon, we're a sponsor at the US Open. If you happen to be in the lounges at those times, in those cities, you'll see great activations to bring the experience to life. We're also a sponsor for Formula One. So if you're in Miami or in Las Vegas at Formula One time, you will know the Formula One is happening if you're in the lounges. And then it's all the everyday things. Like over the summer, we introduced homemade ice cream, which was a fan favorite. And we went around with carts with homemade ice cream. We have whiskey tasting in Atlanta and coffee tasting in Seattle, wine tasting in San Francisco. So there's a lot of like thought going into the experience on the ground. So it's like, yes, we have brand standards, but it's also about thinking what works for that community. This year we opened 3 lounges, Mexico City, Seattle, Atlanta, and DCX, and obviously we have more to come.
Wow, okay. I don't know. Did you ever have a whiskey tasting in the lounge? I didn't, but
Alcohol is very popular in lounges.
I think I need more dwell time. Anyway, we have just a short few minutes left, not even a few seconds left. Tell us, what is the biggest trend that you think we're going to see that we are not talking about today?
Well, obviously we're talking about technology. It has always been there. But I think the thing I see is like, obviously it's a huge globally connected world. And for us, we are a globally connected travel agency. And I think that's the first thing is all our products have to be globally connected. But in that, customers expect a globally connected world. The world is a beautiful place. We want customers to explore that world. We want them to protect that world, and we want them to, pay it forward. And I love that trend that we're seeing now, and I hope that that continues, that as we visit places, that we're mindful of our footprint and also what we want to leave behind for everybody else.
Well, that's a perfect way to end. Let's not leave any footprints here. And thank you for joining us again.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.